Hi everyone, my name's Lily. I'm the book reviewer behind Utopia State of Mind, and today I want to be chatting about my favorite sequels from 2023. I made this into a separate video, and I also made it into a separate part of my overall top 10 of 2023 because I just feel like sequels are so involved in building upon the either book beforehand, if it's a duology, or the two books beforehand, that it is not fair to really. I feel like when I'm reviewing a sequel, I'm also reviewing how the character arcs have been going for two books, and it just feels like I'm reviewing two or three books in one. So I wanted to kind of separate them from my top 10, but also separate them into their own part. So let me just start with the fact that on this one, I have the Bone Shard War and the Bone Shard Emperor, which are the second and third, so the second book and the last book in the, I'm not exactly sure what the series name is, but it starts with the Bone Shard Daughter by Andrea Stewart. And I loved how these two last books of the series really are talking about power leadership. Power and leadership have been such a huge theme throughout all of these different books, and the way that they finally kind of all end up talking about love, sacrifice, power, and leadership, what makes a good leader, what kind of deals, what compromises, what negotiations, sacrifices, betrayals, sabotages, everything. What goes into being a good, powerful leader? Who has the power? Who's a good leader? Do they often are they the same person? I think that these themes are so great in the last two books of the series, and you can really see how it's built on the foundation of the Bone Shard Daughter for the Bone Shard War and the Bone Shard Emperor. They are fantastic. If you really love fantasies with multiple perspectives, I love the idea of the bone shard magic system where you have these kind of bone shard, almost like coding little literal bone shards going into. I'm not actually gonna keep talking about it because I don't want to spoil it. I don't remember what is revealed in the first book, but if you love a unique fantasy world with multiple perspectives that feels very epic and tackles these really, really big themes of power and leadership, just read those. The next one is The Severed Thread, but this is the second book in the trilogy. This is so fun because it started off as something that was like super easy to plug. It was kind of like a gender-bent Sleeping Beauty retelling or reimagining mixed in with kind of Red Riding Hood vibes, but it's actually now turned into something that has been so innovative and unique on its own. The second one had so many kind of archaeological treasure hunting vibes, which were not necessarily in the first one. The first one very much still felt like it was paying homage to a lot of those different fairy tales that I was mentioning. But the second one has kind of taken off on its own and gone into the territory of just being about these characters and these relationships, these dynamics of found friendship and the found family that they found in their little friendship group. And it has been such a joy to see this journey. I cannot wait for The Cursed Rose. The Cursed Rose is out, but I can't wait for other people to read The Cursed Rose. The next one is Painted Devils, which, okay, Little Thieves is one of my favorite books ever, period. The hilarious, heartfelt darkness as well in Little Thieves. Like every character of Little Thieves just could claw my heart out. I love them so much. I love Vanya's darkness, her wryness, her also intense vulnerability and fragility, her power, her like ruthlessness. I love Vanya, period. And Painted Devils put me through pain. Like I am so excited for the next book. But Painted Devils will put you through the ringer. I cried, like just full on tears multiple times reading Painting Devils. As an adopted person, reading Vanya's story, which isn't necessarily the same as my life and my story, but reading Vanya's story about how she navigates family and belonging and her feelings surrounding family were like heart-wrenching. I cried multiple times just from that, but also Vanya's relationships with her friends, like just tears all over my face. The next one is The Battle Drum. This is the second book in it's a sequel to The Final Strife. Honestly, I don't know what the series is called. I when the series names are not the series, or when they're not the book titles, out the window for me. But anyway, The Battle Drum, I wasn't sure what to expect because I love The Final Strife so much that my expectations going into the Battle Drum were extremely high, and they were well founded. Like, it was such a fabulous sequel that didn't feel like it was retreating. It felt like we were steamrolling ahead, and the character development in the Battle Drum, the world development within the Battle Drum were just like chef's kiss to see that come through and to see that be developed over this sequel. The next one is Foul Heart Huntsman, which is the last one in the secret. I think it's the last one in the Secret Shanghai universe. But honestly, this was such a fun. It was a lot more action, a lot more fighting than I thought it was going to be. But Chloe was able to manage to balance the fighting and also some really, really romantic pieces and storylines and quotes that I couldn't really share because they were spoilery. But there's a really great interchange between action, between characters, between romance, and it's just like such a fun way to end the series that also manages to be heart-wrenching all at the same time. The next one I want to chat about is Never a Hero. This is a sequel to Only a Monster, and kind of just like with many of these second book series sequels in this list, these authors did not come to play. There's no second book syndrome, which is what I've come to term as kind of a second book in a trilogy that kind of feels a little bit like one step forward, two steps back, but all of these second books in this list did not do that. And that was entirely the case for Never Hero. I honestly did not know where Never Hero was going to go after the ending of Only a Monster because of the ending of Only a Monster. And similarly, I don't honestly know where the third book will go after the ending of Never Hero. This book really makes you think about the burden of memory and the burden of knowledge, the burden of sort of these kinds of relationships on people, and it's really fascinating in the way that it talks about that theme specifically, but also there's a lot of action adventure as well, a lot of magical reveals. So I cannot wait till book 3. I have no idea when it's coming out, but I cannot wait till book 3. The next one is A Shadow Crown, which I think what I liked about A Shadow Crown is that I think that there's an idea that with a series, a sequel to a first book, it has to be kind of like nonstop action off the ground, right? And what I loved about all of these sequels that I'm talking about is while some of them are really kind of committed to that, A Shadow Crown is very committed to a character development, character detail, character arc within a sequel. It proves to you that you don't always have to have kind of an upwards exponential, linear trajectory of action, with some dips or whatever. But it's a sequel that feels quieter in the sense that it doesn't feel as quite action-packed, adventure-y, nonstop action-esque as the first one, A Broken Blade. But the character development and the character journeys that are being undertaken in A Shadow Crown just realizes that it just makes it feel so well developed and well researched. It's this weird dichotomy between sequels that don't have to have tons and tons of action all at once, all the time, but kind of an action about a character's internal introspective journey as well. The next one and the final one I'm going to talk about today is The Shadow Cabinet, which is a book I didn't expect to enjoy it more than I enjoyed the first one. The first one I really enjoyed, but the second one I really, really loved. It talked a lot about these characters in a way that it really allows them to bloom and develop, and all of the twists and turns in The Shadow Cabinet I did not expect, because honestly after the first one I really didn't know where it was going to go. If you've caught on from right now about the type of reader I am, I'm not a good reader who can predict where things are going to go. I also don't mind if I've seen a twist coming and then that's how it is. I'm not that kind of reader. I'm definitely a reader who, even if I can see it coming, as long as it's done really well, it doesn't change how I feel a book is. I don't need to be tricked and mysterized, I guess. And in The Shadow Cabinet, I really didn't know how it was going to go. But what I loved about this was the way that it is continuing the action and character development arcs from the second book. It doesn't really feel like there's a pause within the flow. I feel like, so I obviously did not read them back to back because I read an arc of the first one and I also read an arc of the second one. But I feel like if you read books 1 and book 2, Her Majesty's Royal Coven and The Shadow Cabinet back to back, you would almost feel like you're just reading one book. The transition felt really seamless. The character dynamics and character conversations felt really seamless. And ended up being a sequel that kind of left my mouth on the floor at the end of it. I texted basically everyone I know who had read it, and I was kind of like, we need to talk. We need to talk about the ending of this book right now. So that brings me to the end of my sequels list, or my top sequels of 2023. I cannot wait for the book 3s that are going to be coming. Let me see. Can I do this off the top of my head? The Severed Thread has a book 3 coming. The Cursed Rose. Bone Shard War, Bone Shard Emperor done. Painted Devils is coming. The sequel is coming this year. Is it the Fallow Year? It might be the Fallow Year. Then the Battle Drum has a sequel. The Ending Fire? No. The Ending Drum. No, that's the Battle Drum. The sequel is coming out this year for the Battle Drum. Never Hero sequel. I'm not really sure when that's coming out, but it should be coming out soon. I'm currently reading A Vicious Game, which is a sequel to A Shadow Crown. And the sequel for The Shadow Cabinet, I think, is coming. I just have no idea when. So those were all of my favorite sequels. Please let me know down below what some of your favorite sequels or even series enders were in 2023. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!